Hi guys, it's Sam here, and if you're watching this video, likelihood is you are a lead provider or you are an agency owner and you are struggling with high churn rates and you're struggling with low quality leads, clients complaining about lead quality. Well, if that's the case and you're watching this video, and I got an amazing workshop today inside of our school community. We had Arin, and Arin came on, who is an expert when it comes to building out sales teams to pre-qualify leads for your clients. So it doesn't matter what sector you're in. If you are a lead gen provider, then you can learn something from this video. You're going to learn how to a full workshop on how you can build a sales team, an overseas sales team that's going to help you qualify and improve the quality of your leads. And this is something that you might want to look into doing if you're trying to stand out and trying to sell a better product or service for your clients. It's a full hour-and-a-half workshop. We have about 40 minutes of training from Arin. And at the end of the video, we have loads of questions from our community members, and he answers all those questions live on the call. So if you are interested in joining the paid community and getting exclusive access to workshops like this, like we did with Arin today, I will leave a link to join the school community down below. And I'll also leave links to Arin's content, such as his YouTube channel and his school group as well. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy this training.
Yeah, feel free to let them in, start introing, and then this will be done in like a second. Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? Sam here. Welcome to the workshop. If you guys want to open your cameras, you don't have to, but feel free. So yeah, today's going to be wicked. We're gonna let a few people kind of roll in because I just posted a link in the group publicly, so people won't be joining. But for those of you who don't know, this is Arin, my friend Arin, who is going to be talking about effectively how to improve your delivery, whether you're delivering leads to local gyms, whether it's construction companies, it doesn't really matter. Arin is like an expert in hiring call centers and actually has a fulfillment agency, which is like a white label agency for companies who want to outsource their kind of appointment setting services for clients. So if you're working with local companies and you want to sell appointments or like qualified leads as opposed to just like raw leads coming from Facebook or Google, that is effectively what Arin does. So just before we get Arin to introduce himself, the chat is going to stay open for me for the whole of the training, but Arin's going to do a little presentation, and then we're going to jump into like Q&A. So there will be an opportunity at the end to get questions answered, but the best thing to do is as we go through the presentation, leave your questions in the chat box. So if you just click on chat at the bottom of the screen, open that up, make sure you keep it open during the call. Leave your questions in the chat box, and then at the end of the call, we'll get Arin to I'll call them out, the questions, and Arin can then answer them best of his ability. But yeah, Arin, over to you. Do you want to just kind of give yourself a little intro and let the guys know what you do?
Yeah, for sure, guys. How is everyone? Hope everyone's good. So, I've actually got. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen really quickly, and I've got my kind of intro in the actual slides. That'll just be a little bit. So let's quickly go through. Here we go. Cool. So I think it's important just to, I don't want to spend too long talking about myself because no one really cares. But I think it's good to kind of give you a bit of background on me, just so you can be like, oh, I should actually listen to this guy. He's not an idiot. So the first thing is that really quick backstory. I've been in the agency space for about 6 years now. I used to run a lead gen agency similar to you guys. We got to like 150K a month at one point, which was really good. But then the biggest thing we noticed that our churn was just so high. And what we found was that it was mainly because the leads weren't being phoned by clients, they weren't getting the best results. And so we figured out a way, if we were able to build the call center out for our clients and literally run their call center for them, then it just become way stickier and they got better results. It was just such better service. So I built a company called Team Follow Up, which is a white label call center for agencies. That company, our biggest client in that company is Gym Launch. So that's Moses Gym Launch, them guys. They basically white label all of their lead nurture to us. So we have like 70 plus callers that are phoning up all their clients' leads with hundreds of projects all across their gyms and stuff. And I'm also a coach inside Joel Kaplan's Agency Lab, teaching agency owners all about call centers, how to build them out, how to get better results for their clients. And the same thing for Charlie Morgan as well, which I'm sure you guys have heard of with Easy Grow. And I'm also a founder of Call Center Mastery, which is a program which teaches agency owners like how to build everything out step by step, because so many agency owners just struggle with this part. Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, does that makes sense? All clear?
Yeah, if you guys want to just give us a thumbs up in the chat as well, just so we know that you guys are all present. And then yeah, crack on, mate, crack on.
Yeah, cool, man. I'm gonna quickly turn my camera on.
Yeah, no worries.
I've got a special camera. For some reason, every 30 minutes it times out, so I've got to set a timer. It's so annoying. Like, yeah. Anyway, is what it
All
is.
right.
Cool. Awesome. Let's jump in. So ISA Masterclass if anyone doesn't know what an ISA is, ISA stands for inbound sales agent. So all this stuff I'm going to be talking about, none of it's to do with none of it's to do with cold calling. It's all to do with warm leads. So it's like if you're generating leads for your clients via Facebook ads, via Google ads, whatever that kind of stuff. It's all that. So I have no experience with cold calling. Like it'll be completely different for cold calling. Okay. If you are an agency who is literally just getting started in this space and you've got like 2 clients and you're struggling to like even get the lead gen going, don't even worry about call centers yet. Like only worry about this start. Once you've got the lead gen side solid and working, then great, then we can look at call centers. But for now, if you're just struggling to get just the leads themselves in, then I'll just phone the lead yourself. Like, don't worry about hiring anyone, just do all the calling yourself. Just in the beginning stages of things. Only when you get to like 5-10 clients and you've got like consistent leads coming in, then great, then we can look at the call center. It does take pay. It's not like a quick fix. It's not some instant fix. It is something that's like a long-term commitment. So don't just get shiny objects and think it's gonna solve all your problems. So yeah, my aim here is just like to try and distill as much as possible. I've kind of put this down to 30 minutes. We have like 30 minutes Q&A. But yeah, just try and do it as fast as I can. And there'll be a bunch of resources at the end that I'll post inside of the group afterwards, so you guys can get access to that. So just been through that. Cool. So the grim situation. So essentially, what happens is you generate leads for clients. The client usually doesn't follow up with the leads. The client then complains about a lack of appointments. And then you end up having to teach the client how to follow up, right? So I don't know if any of you guys have seen this before, where you've got to like make the video course and you make all these SOPs on how to follow up with leads. Has anyone done that before? Just put like a 1 or something in the chat if you've tried creating like a video course for your clients and yeah, course, couple people or one person. So a lot of people do that, right? So they'll end up building out like a whole thing about, hey, you got phone leads within 5 minutes, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then you generate the lead for clients again, and they just still don't listen to it. They just don't follow up. They then come back. It's just this constant cycle, right? Which isn't good at all. So something that when I was kind of going through all the research and figuring out the call center stuff, there was a survey done by HubSpot, and MIT together. And they looked at 3 years of data across 6 different companies with over 15,000 leads. And it's like a 15-20 page doc. I think the whole thing, I'll link it at the end. But the key things that I pulled from it were, the first thing was that the odds of being able to get in contact with a lead decreases 10 times within the first hour, after the first hour. So if you phone a lead in the first hour and compare that to try and phone the lead after that first hour, you've got a 10 times less chance of getting hold of that lead, right? So if you've got any clients that are like, oh, I'm really busy. I'm a roofer. I haven't got time to follow up leads in the day. I'm doing my job. I like to follow up all my leads at 7 p.m. in night. After my day's done, I open up my laptop. I follow up all the leads. Then is that okay? And you're like, yeah, that's fine. We can do that. That's fine. Well, they're going to be literally getting 10 times the less chance of getting hold of the leads, which is obviously not good at all. And the other thing that's even kind of crazier, I think, was that the odds of contacting a lead in 5 minutes, comparing that to after 30 minutes, drops by 100 times. And I still struggle to like. I'm like, really? I'm just like, really? But this is what they found in their data. So, and this is MIT and HubSpot, so I'm not going to like challenge them. They're pretty well established companies. So yeah, what I'm trying to get at here is phoning leads within 5 minutes is like, I know everyone says it, but this is the data to prove why it's so important. If you're not phoning leads within 5 minutes, you're literally just like you're burning your clients' money. It's ridiculous. So how to double your booked appointments? It's very simple, but it's not exactly easy, right? So the simple thing is literally just have a calling team on standby, phone all new leads within 5 minutes and being generated. Make sure that you are following up with SMSs within 5 minutes. You can use a lot of AI for this. A lot of people ask me about AI calling. It's not really there yet. Few people have got some kind of good results, but it's maybe like 50% of the way there. So you're still going to have like half your calls just being dropped by AI being bad. And even the good AI callers, like you can still tell it's AI. It's not the best. So but the AI for the texting is great. Like that's honestly like some of the AI texting I've seen. We use a company called Closebot. I can send you like a discount if you're interested in that. And they do a really great job at like using ChatGPT 4 Turbo. You plug that in, and the text that I see come through are genuinely better than what I could even write, even if I was like sitting there sometimes, which is awesome. And then you want to be making sure you're following up consistently. So you need to be following up the same leads that don't answer twice a day, every day for 7 days in a row. That's an absolute minimum. If you want to do more, great. But what we find is that after 7 days, the chance of even after like 4 days, if you want to see the chance of getting hold of that lead, it's just like drops massively. And so you've got to start working out the time to like value back, like your ROI on the time that you're putting in, right? Like it gets to the point where phoning on the 13th day, the 15th day, like it's just like you're barely going to get any responses. So you should better off investing your time somewhere else. A lot of people, when they work with ISAs or they have their own VAs, they will tell me, "Oh, my ISAs are doing everything like you just said. They're phoning leads twice a day. They're following up leads, within 5 minutes. I know they're doing a great job. Blah blah blah." Does anyone here actually have an ISA team already in place? I'm curious.
I'd be
Anyone?
interested in that as well.
Yeah. Anyone got even just like one ISA that's phoning their clients leads for them? No one?
Drop a
Wow.
yes if you do.
Yeah,
But I
drop,
think
yeah.
most people here are predominantly lead gen, which is why I think this is so interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because yeah, I'll talk about yeah, okay, cool. So well, this kind of slide soon we'll do. Okay, Luke, awesome. Yeah, love it. So a lot of clients, a lot of leads when I speak to them and they're talking about call centers and they think everything's great. I just challenge you when you do have an ISA team to like go into the Go High Level account and just actually like comb through it, right? So like check our leads being phoned within 5 minutes, check our leads being phoned up twice a day every day. Don't just rely on your ISA telling you they're doing it, like actually check. And you'll see that, like, I honestly haven't had a single person that I've spoke to on a call where I've been like, where they're like, yeah, everything's perfect. I'm like, great, share your screen, let's have a look. We share the screen and within 1 minute, I'm like, what about this? What about that? Why is that not being done? And they're like, oh, and then I kind of like it's awkward,
Yeah.
like, and I always play this thing where I'll be like, oh, that's probably just a one-off. Let's look at another lead, knowing full well that all their leads are going to be like not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a cool little fun thing I do on sales calls. So if you have got a team, go like properly just investigate them, make sure they're doing a good job. Oh, and one other thing as well, just touching upon a lot of people that haven't got the call centers in place at the moment. So honestly, like in 2018, like even when I started the agency space, you could get away with just generating leads. It was because that was like Facebook ads was still quite a new thing for like chiros when it comes to roofers, whatever it is. Nowadays, the market's just evolved to the point where leads just aren't enough anymore. Like anyone with a laptop can compete against you if you're just doing leads. And there are so many people like after all these agency coaches and all these like man gats, it always start like people are just sold in this agency dream. And you've got so many guys, like even yourselves, right, that have like seen this and like, oh my God, I want to be rich. I want to make money online. Let's start an agency. And then it's like, and it's great. It's awesome. So then you're now competing against every other agency owner. And again, Facebook ads is pretty easy to master. Like it's not that hard. Like generate some ads. Like if you can start adding like video and stuff in there, creative, things, creative services, then great. It differentiates you a little bit. But the real powerful thing is if you can say to the client, hey, we're not, all these other guys are just generating leads. Yeah, we're actually going to phone them up, pre-qualify them, and book them into your calendar, like with our own ISA, with our own calling team. And the market is getting to a point now where I've spoke to a lot of people where their leads they're speaking to are actually asking, oh, do you phone my leads for me? It's becoming a thing that clients are now actually expecting, which is why it's so important.
I always say to work back from let's jump in, work back from what the customer wants, right? And the customers aren't like up at night, like wanting to wake up in the morning and have to call somebody 5 times to book an appointment. Like they just want the phone to ring.
Exactly
Um,
that.
and if you can do that, the closest thing to doing that is this. Whether that's booking appointments or whether that's just doing like I want to ask you questions later on about this, but whether that's doing like live transfer calls,
Yep, exactly.
it's literally unmatched. Like if you're working with a client and then a competitor messages them saying, "Hey, I'll do it for cheaper than what they're doing it for." If you're just doing ads and leads and they're having to do all that work themselves, then they might just think, "Well, nothing's changing. I'm just halving the amount I'm paying to this guy." They're going to do effectively the same thing. And especially when people are offering like, "Oh, we'll do it for free for a month," right? It's like hard to compete with. But if you're offering this to the point where it's just leaps and bounds ahead, right? So it just makes a huge
Exactly
difference.
that. And it also becomes way stickier as well, right? It's like it's not only that the sale becomes easier, but it's if someone does approach them as like, hey, I'll give you a free month just to try and like poach them as your client, like they are now going to be sitting there thinking, hold on a second, so this guy's gonna do the ads, then who's gonna take over my calling? And like it's like more, it's just more, it's harder for them to be able to move provider because you're doing more for them, right? So it's just like it's harder for them to pull it all into one. And then they've got to find their own calling team, or maybe they've got to find the leads themselves. And honestly, that's one of the things we found with Gym Launch. Like with Gym Launch, a lot of the time we'll just get the same results as the client on their own. But we're now saving the client 20 hours a week, 15 hours a week from having to do the phone in themselves. And that's massively increased Gym Launch's retention. Like when they put someone on their normal agency, mastermind, whatever, without our service, and they put our service on, their retention goes up because people it's just again it's stickier. It's way better. So anyway, so some tools and systems we use. So obviously Go High Level, right? Like that, everything we do is built inside Go High Level. All of our reporting, everything's built like it's connected into Go High Level, but it's like Google Sheets, Google Data Studio, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like the actual calling, the texting, like all that, we don't use any external dialers. We just don't need it, honestly. Like everyone thinks that an external dialer is going to be like their solution to having a bad setting team, and it's not the solution. You just need to have proper systems, which is
Can
all
you just
done.
elaborate on what external dialer means, those who don't know?
Yeah, for sure. So it's, for example, like you can use things like there's one called like Wave, it's WAVV. You've got like Hixie. You've got like what's the other one? Hot Prospector. Essentially, what it is it's you make phone calls for a different platform, but then what the platform does is it in the notes of Go High Level, it will say what happened. So like the call was made at this time, but like it's a third party that's plugging into Go High Level, and it allows you to do it. It gives you a little bit more flexibility with the calling, but it's not that much of a difference for you to have to change.
Yeah. Cool.
One of the important things is having a proper GHL snapshot with like all the ISA automations built out, right? If you're relying on your ISA to manually go in and be like, oh, this lead I'm going to phone today, and oh, tomorrow I better write that lead down to phone. Like that's an absolute mess. You need to have it all built out inside Go High Level, and that way then you're able to very easily know who should be phoned in what times and when, and the system automatically fills it all out for the ISA. So all the ISA's got to do is go into the account, click let's start calling, and then it just calls everyone, and it's super smooth. And then a phone number set up as well. So I've got a resource at the end which talks about how to properly set up like the CNAM, shake and stir, verify caller IDs. Does anyone here use verify caller IDs? Do they know what they are?
But yes, if you know what they are.
Yeah. So I'm assuming no one knows what they are. Awesome. So
no.
What you can do. So Luke, I'll take you as an example if you don't mind, mate. What is your niche? Right.
My niche is gyms, actually, believe it or not.
Okay, cool. So what you're actually able to do is use the gym's actual like. Are you in the UK?
Yeah.
And you work with UK gyms?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you can actually use the gym's number, like their local number, connect that into Go High Level, and whenever you make a phone call from Go High Level, it automatically shows as the gym's caller ID. So that way, then the people when they get phoned, it actually looks like the gym's phoning them. You're not phoning on Go High Level. Yeah, like spoofing, it's like that. Yeah, exactly that. It's just like you're masking you're masking the caller ID to be the gym's. So the so-called verified caller ID again it explains it, and I've got some stuff on that.
So it is So it is going through Twilio, for example.
Yeah. So I'm making the phone. Yeah, I'm making the phone in Go High Level. I'm still using the Go High Level number, but it's just masking that Go High Level number's the caller ID to be the gym's caller ID.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Very cool.
Clever.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. There we go. Cool. The next thing is our Speedily Slack system. So when you guys start hiring callers, you need to make sure that you have a way for that. First of all, that the team is supposed to be notified when a new lead comes in. If you're just relying on the ISA to like be in the account and see when a new lead comes in and just hope they're going to phone them on time, it will never work. So you need to have. So how we break it down here is we have a Slack channel which is called like we call it the watch shift because people are on watch. So we have like the watch shift alert Slack channel. We have an alert event which is like, for example, a new lead, right? So a new lead comes into the Go High Level account that gets sent directly to this watch shift alert channel. From there, we have the ISA, whoever's on watch, they have to put a timestamp of when they first see this message, right? So we've got the timestamp of when the message was sent, like when the lead first came in. Then we've got a timestamp of, then we've got a timestamp of when the ISA first saw the message, right? Then we've got the timestamp of when the phone call was made and what happened, right? So we have these three things, and that way then if any lead isn't phoned within 5 minutes, we can investigate and see, oh, is it because Hazel was busy? Was there a problem? Like, and you can start to see these timestamps and start to paint a picture of maybe why certain leads weren't phoned when they should be. The other thing we do as well is that if a lead takes longer than 5 minutes to be phoned, or if one of these alerts take longer than 5 minutes, they have to tag you or your call center manager, whoever it is, inside the thread of that message and give an explanation of why it took longer than 5 minutes. So the key here is that if it takes longer than 5 minutes, that doesn't mean the IC is in trouble. Like sometimes there's lots of leads at once, sometimes there's a bug, like it could be all sorts of problems, right? That's not their fault. However, if something takes longer than 5 minutes and they don't tag you, that's a huge issue because that's entirely on them. They have to tag you every time. And then it kind of creates this like self accountability kind of snitching because they know that every single time a lead takes longer than 5 minutes, you're going to investigate it. Because you're going to be like, oh, why have I been tagged? Let me have a look. Oh, what happened here? And so if they've just been lazy and they just haven't phoned the lead within 5 minutes, they know they've got to tag you, and you're going to investigate and figure out that they haven't phoned you within 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, haven't phoned them the lead within 5 minutes just because they're being lazy. Then it creates this obviously an issue there. So doing it this way, it's like you just have a smooth speed to lead system and make sure the leads are being phoned within 5 minutes. It's way easier. Remember, guys, if you've got any questions, just feel free to like post them and I'll come back to them. Next things are scripting systems. Yep, cool. So for scripting, we don't have like a block of A4 paper, like because a lot of agencies we used to work with, they would have like the script, they'd have like the opening, they'd have like objections at the bottom, they'd have like information, and like the team members like scroll through it. It's just an absolute mess. It's so hard. So what we do is we create this like flow sheet here, and obviously as your team get really really good at your accounts, they don't really need this as much. Like they'll get familiar with the script, they'll know what to say, so you can start using like bullet points and things like that, which work really really well. But you can have it so you have like the opening question here, for example. If they say yes, say no, do this. If they say yes, then do this. If they say that, and that way they can handle objections, all that kind of stuff as well. It just makes it way more streamlined. It's a lot nicer. For the appointment booking side of things, you want to make sure that you don't allow your agents to book directly in Go High Level. For any of you guys that have actually tried to book directly in the Go High Level system, there are so many different options. You can pick different calendars, you can pick different time zones, you can do custom times, and ISAs that are being paid like $5 an hour or whatever, they're just going to be like they're going to make a mess of it. So what we do is we have a public URL. So literally like the same way that you would have like a URL for the leads, right? We create one literally for the appointment setter. So then what the appointment setter does is they open up the public URL, which they obviously anyone can access, and they put in the client's information, and then we can also lock the time zone. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but inside Go High Level, if you're working with local businesses, you can actually disable the contact time zone, which means that leads cannot book outside of the time zone you set, right? Which is so it stops any confusion around time zone. Do the same thing for your appointment setters calendar. And again, that means that the time zones can be locked to, for example, the UK. Even though they're in the Philippines, the time zone will be locked to the UK. So when they're speaking to the lead on the phone, they're like, oh, I've got 10 a.m. available. There's no confusion around, is that 10 a.m. their time or is that 10 a.m. the lead's time? It's just 10 a.m. Like everyone knows it's the lead's time and it's the gym's time, which is really nice. Then we've also got the callback request calendar. Callback request calendar. This is if someone says to you, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm busy right now, I can't speak. Can you call me back tomorrow at 6? And it's like, yeah, cool, no worries. Like if you rely on your IC just to remember to phone a lead at 6, again, that will never happen. So what we do is we set up a separate calendar called the callback request calendar. From there, what we do is it's a calendar that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's got like 110-minute slots every hour, whatever you want to do. And you literally just go in there and you book a separate appointment in that calendar. And then we have an alert that goes out that tells the ISA, hey, phone this lead at this time. Works really nicely. Reporting is so important. Like you need to have your proper reporting locked in. So this is Google Data Sheets and Google Sheets. I tried a bunch of stuff like Airtable. I tried Databox. I tried loads of different softwares. And honestly, the best thing was just Google Sheets and Google Data Studio. That's what we found is the best. You want to make sure this is all automated as well. You've got like, there's a way to do this. It's not too difficult. But the main thing is, even if you just manually do it for yourselves for now, make sure you're tracking the data around your call center and even just around your leads in general, right? Around your clients in general. Because if you don't have the data, there's no way you can make improvements. There's no way you can even try and just keep making things better. It's just, you're just working in the dark, right?
So does Google Data Studio, sorry to interrupt, does Google Data Studio connect with Google Sheets? So you're effectively building out a database in your sheet, which is then connecting to Data Studio.
That's exactly it. It
looks awesome. It looks really good.
Yeah, so Google Sheets is the brain, you could call it. That's where all the information is. And then Google Data Studio just reads off of that sheet. And then it like makes like a pretty dashboard that looks like this, which is nice.
Nice.
Then we've got reports, like extended reporting, right? So it's important to be able to give feedback to obviously the ads team and the client. You don't want to be focusing on vanity metrics. So many people, when they start doing reporting for clients, they're like, oh, your cost per impression, your cost per 1,000 impressions was blah, blah. And your frequency was this. And it's like, the client doesn't give a shit. Like the client literally couldn't give a shit. So you want to be making sure you're actually giving feedback on the things that matter. And the clients aren't stupid as well. Like I'm working with an agency at the moment. They're not doing a great job. And what I found is that every time the cost per book call is like okay, they give me a report that's focused on cost per book call. Whenever the cost per book call is like super high and it's terrible, all of a sudden they're reporting change to cost per lead. And I'm like, but you were reporting on cost per book call, like, and it's as if they like I'm insulted by it. It really pisses me off. So I'm like, you think I'm that much of an idiot? I'm like, oh, the cost per lead's good. I'm really happy. I'm gonna stay for another month. Like, no, like it's freaking retarded.
I
So
think I just want to say on that, just to interrupt you.
yeah, go
Sorry,
on.
I
You're
try not
good.
to make a habit of
No, you're good.
interrupting.
You're good. You're fine.
I think everyone here would agree, like, Arin is like an operational, like anomaly. Like, there's not many people in this world who like have this shit dialed in like you do. So I think when you're this good at this stuff and you go and work with another
Yeah.
agency doing a similar thing, but you know, in a different sector, it can be quite underwhelming.
Yeah,
And
that's
like, I just
probably
want
what
to
it
say
is.
for people watching, like this is complicated and this stuff takes time and it's hard. But like, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So like, you do kind of need to learn this stuff and become an expert and like really like dial in because this is how you separate yourself is and how you like build a moat around your business. Like if you're just running ads, it's there's really no differentiator. Um, but this is awesome. Like I think if everyone could just leave a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying this, and then make sure you keep the questions coming in as well. But yeah, crack on, man. I didn't want me to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
awesome. Yeah, and you are right. Like I often think that, like, even with my own team, right? Like, with my team, I'm quite harsh with them sometimes. And I'm like, how do you not get this? Just do this. Just do it. And I forget that this is like, I've been working on this stuff like full time for years now. Like, and I've learned it. And so sometimes I'm a bit like, I'm not fair with people the way I'm just like, how does this not make sense? This is easy, like, blah, blah, blah. But you're right. Like, if you're starting out, or even if you're not starting out, even if you're doing this for like a year or so, I didn't start learning this stuff till I was like years into my journey. So, don't think that, oh, I should know this, I'm immediately going to be perfect at this. Like it does take time, like what you're saying, Sam.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so going back to the metrics, right? So if you can, and obviously at the beginning I get that it's hard to really, sometimes if your results are bad, right, it's hard to give like direct feedback on bad results because like you're worried the client's gonna quit. And I get it, and you want to be a little bit like fluffy with the result, like maybe give feedback on different things. I get all that. Really, the absolute best thing you can do, if you can do this, is in your reporting, if you can feedback on like how many sales the clients got from you, right? How many, like the cost per book call, the cost per show, like all that stuff, and even include your retainer in that report and be like, hey, last month you paid us, you paid us this, you paid the ads, Facebook, Google, whatever this, right? Maybe that comes to like $5,000 in total. You've made $12,000, right? And even if you go one step further than that and be like, this is going to be crazy now, but if you can start working out on the onboarding calls, like what their lifetime value per client is, what their profit
Yeah.
margins are, blah, blah. And you can literally be like, look, like to cutting everything else out, your profit, you literally made from working with us last month, you made $6,000 profit. Like not like lifetime value, like profit, like money in your account. Then it becomes very hard. It becomes a very easy thing when people are like thinking of quitting. It's like, oh, so you don't like making a free $6,000 a month? Like, is that like, do you know what I mean? Like you can get really harsh with it. I've honestly never seen an agency ever do that. And even myself, like I've even with my agency, I didn't get to the point where I knew this at that time, so I haven't even done it for myself at this point. But this is the kind of stuff that really will make you stand out and take to the next level. So how to actually analyze data? So a lot of people, when they jump on my calls, they'll be like, oh, my booking rate's really bad. It's because the pickup rate's bad. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? They're like, well, the new leads are coming in. Let's say I've got 100 new leads and I've only got 10 booked appointments. So I've got a 10% booking rate. I'm like, okay, but how do you know it's the pickup rate? Oh, my ISAs are telling me that they're phoning people when they're never answering. Okay, but that's just your ISA's opinion of some leads they found. Like, that's not giving, you should never make decisions based on that. It's just, it doesn't give you anything. So you need to actually track things. So going back to this sheet again, right? So it's like, okay, well, what's our pickup rate? What's our conversation rate? Like, you need to have each section, and again, even with the ad stuff, like, don't just report on like, oh, how many new leads and how many. So like, you need to actually break down every step of the way, because then if there is a problem, if the appointments have dropped or if the shows have dropped or whatever it is, you can then start to identify where the actual bottleneck is, right? So for example, if I see my pickup rate is still great and the new leads coming in are great, pickup rate's great, but my booking rate's low and then my conversation rate's great, then it's like, hold on a second, everything's good. People are having conversations, the pickups are good, new leads are good. Why are my bookings low? And then all of a sudden, like, you're not worried about pickup rate. Oh, is my phone number spam likely? Well, it's not that. It's nothing to do with that. Then you start listening to the calls and you're like, oh, everyone's out of service area. Oh, okay. Because you're listening, because you see that the conversations are great, so you have nothing wrong there, but the booking rate's low. You listen to the calls, or it could be things like calendar availability. Your client's just got no availability on their calendar. And so when your team are trying to book them in, they just can't get any slots. There's no slots available, so they can't put them in. And stuff like that. So like if you have the proper data, you can start analyzing where the bottleneck is, and then boom, you can fix things and move quickly. The other thing is the scientific method. So this is taken from Charlie Morgan. This is basically saying that when you're testing things, actually put out a real science experiment. Don't like even with your ads, anything you're doing. If you said to yourself, "Hey, I'm going to run this experiment for a week," and then 2 days in, the results are bad, you're like, "Oh, it's a bad idea," and you cancel everything. That's not the scientific method. You're literally just going off your emotions and how you feel that day. So what you want to do is like treat it like a science experiment. If you were in school and you were trying to experiment with bacteria or something, right? You would set out what your hypothesis was. What do you think is going to be different? Like when you run this experiment, what do you think is going to happen, right? You'd put out like different requirements and different boundaries around the experiment. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. You'd set a time frame, right? You'd set out like some kind of latency lag. Like, okay, is there going to be, once I've done the experiment, is there a certain amount of time that's got to pass for me to see the actual results from that experiment? You wouldn't start like touching the petri dish and sneezing in the back. Like you wouldn't do that. You keep it completely separate from everything else, right? And it's the same thing with any testing you're doing in your agency. You need to make sure that when you run something, like actually set a time. Like, hey, I'm going for 7 days. I don't care what happens. I'm running for 7 days. I'm committing to this. And I've even bought, it's a bit sad, but I even bought these like science goggles to put on my desk. So if I'm ever doing some kind of experiments or anything, it's like I look at them and I'm like, act as like remove your emotion, like act as a scientist and just like do not think about how it impacts you personally. Even sometimes like I'm worn for a little while now, but even sometimes like, I like put them on when I'm working, just so like there's a book that I read. So I'm going on a tangent now. There's a book I read before where it was like this, I forgot what book it was, but there was a tennis player that was amazing at tennis, right? And what would happen is she would start smashing the opponent, but then she had this thing in her where she felt like the world should always be fair, and she just like, so what happens when she starts being the opponent? She starts feeling bad for them, and so she starts self-sabotaging. Without meaning, she starts self-sabotaging, and then she'd always lose the game, right? And so what this therapist that was working with her one day said to her, "I'll tell you what." They gave her some like sweatband or something, and they're like, "When you wear this sweatband, you are not you. You are the best tennis player that's absolutely ruthless. Like you want to make people cry. Like you don't give a shit. You want to be the most, like you want to be horrible to people. Like you're just the biggest dickhead. And that's you when you wear this band." And obviously over time, so we started with this band and she just got into that frame of like, I'm just going to destroy this person. Like, and it changed her whole playing, like the way that she looked at the world when she was playing. And so she started winning way more. And so it's kind of the same thing. Like when I wear them, it's like, I'm not me. I'm just someone who I've hired that has no emotional tie to the experiment I'm trying to run. I'm just like, cool, like I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm just gonna like just do the experiment. Like I'm just a scientist, right? Yeah, a little bit of a tangent there. I'm gonna quickly reset my camera because I'm at the half an hour mark. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries. It's Luke who's in the group, who's a friend of mine. It's he's told me about this concept before, and it's a book called The Alter Ego Effect. I don't know if that's where you got it from, but
that might have been that might have been it. Yeah.
And you like create a I don't know the full ins and outs, but you effectively create like an alter ego of yourself who is has all the strengths, is strong where you're weak, and all of these things. It's cool. I like it. I like the concept.
Yeah, it was a really, it must have been that book. I've read it. It was years ago. It was like even before I started business, I've read it. It was just quite interesting. Cool. Then I've got something called the lead action nectar. So I'm not going to go through every little detail of this because it's like 13 pages long and it'll take me forever. But I'll just take some of the key points from it. Again, this resource will be at the end, so feel free to go through it and click on it at the end. So the first thing is like acting like a human. Okay, so if your lead thinks that it's an automation, but you're trying to act like a human, you're essentially deceiving the lead, right? And they sense that. Like if you're like, hey, hey Sam, Aaron here from blah 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 gym. Just saw you put your information in. Super excited. How can I help? Right? And you send that at 4 a.m. when I've just submitted my information. I'm like, well, I know that's not real. Like, I know you're just a bot. And then it insults me because I'm like, oh, you think I actually believe that you're? I'm like, this is and it just kind of destroys that from the very beginning. It kind of just feels weird. So what I'd like to do is, if there's any like kind of automatic messages, I'd always like I make them very, very much automated on purpose. I'll be like, hey, this is an auto message from blah, blah, like things like that I'll put in there so people don't feel like you're trying to treat them like an idiot. But what I'll do is, but there are times where I'll make it seem that a human is actually speaking to them when it's just an automation, right? So what I'll do is I'll break messages down. So if you're sending one long message, if you're speaking to your friends, you would never send one long message, right? You would always just send like, well, it's what I do anyway. I put like multiple messages, right? So Sam, when we were messaging back and forward, like we would send multiple messages. Like we wouldn't just send one long message because it's a bit weird.
This is when I find out I was talking to a bot.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't even me. Who? And so I like to break them up, and also I like to do these like little mistakes, right? So I put like mistakes. So for example, here I misspelled occasion on purpose in the automation, and I put oops occasion and put a little star. So again, it looks like someone's actually just sat there and typed it out, and they've just made a mistake and then corrected it, which is quite nice.
This used to be big on ManyChat. Also, like your ManyChat back in the day, messenger ads used to like pop off, right? And you would put a delay of like 3 minutes, so just long enough for them to remember what they were doing, but long enough for them to believe that it's actually a real person. And then whenever you would send a new message, you would have a delay, and it would have the speech bubble pop up. So it'd be like send a message, like 3 second delay, speech bubble pops up, 4 seconds, and we used to like time how long it would take to send that message.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
to make that, yeah. So it did seem very, very authentic as well.
Yeah, the speech bubble phone. I've never heard of that before. You can't do that in Go High Level, but that is a cool little.
Yeah,
That's actually.
smart.
That's got me thinking. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I love that. So do it obviously. Yeah, so breaking down messages, making mistakes. Like obviously, don't overuse this stuff. If it's obviously automated and you're using this stuff, it just destroys it even more. Like people just think, oh wow, this guy's like, what the hell's going on? Make sure your workflow is not sent to run overnight, like I was just saying, obviously in automation, and send at random times. Don't send it like if you do that 24 hours before appointment time, 12 hours before appointment time, like then if it's always bang on the hour, then obviously again it's obvious. So you want to make sure that you're sending it like 4:06, 3:52, like random times when you're trying to make these human messages to make it seem more real. The other thing is like using images, emojis, questions, right? So if you can do things like even like before and after pictures, right? So Luke, just touching on your niche again with the gyms, like if the first message they get is a before and after picture or like some kind of social proof, like that can be really powerful to them get engaged with that text message straight away. If you're in solar, right? You're in solar and you've got maybe got like an energy build before and after, right? Chiropractors, dentists with their teeth, right? Like before and afters, things like that can be really, really nice. Putting images as well, like throughout the nurture. So it's like if you can get a picture of your client, for example, again, if you're in dentistry and you can get a picture of a client maybe with a patient or even just in their office with like the dental chair behind them and like a selfie, right? And then you put that in the automations, which is like, hey, blah, blah here. Any kind of pictures that you can send in these nurture, like even appointment reminders, whatever it is, any kind of pictures you can send, it just builds that trust. All of this stuff you've got to imagine, you've got to see it from the lead's point of view. They've literally found this random ad on Facebook. They're just going through their day, right? Random ad that comes on Facebook. They then put their information in. They think it's a local company, but they're not too sure. Put their information in. They then get a phone call maybe from an ISA who's from the Philippines, right? And they're like speaking to them a little bit like, they're a little bit on the back foot. They're not too sure. And then they just get these random text messages, which is like, hey, remember your appointment's tomorrow at 3. And that's all they say. It's like, oh, it feels a bit sketchy. But if you've got a picture of the dentist, like a selfie, like, hey, I'm meeting you tomorrow, look out for me, blah, blah, like all this kind of stuff just builds trust and makes people feel a lot more comfortable with showing up, improve show rate, that kind of stuff. Obviously, you want to be careful of like using emojis because they can work great. For example, in the gym niche, they can work awesome. But if you're like if you're a chiropractor and you're sending emojis and you're using like slang, it comes off the complete wrong way because you're supposed to be a professional. Even if it's like it comes to like legal services and you're putting like I would never see a lawyer write BTW for by the way or like smiley face. Like they just don't do that because it makes me feel like they're not a real lawyer. It doesn't feel right. So just be careful. It's obviously niche dependent. Asking questions can be really powerful, like just asking some open-ended questions and making sure you've got a bot or an ISA to sit there and reply to questions. If you're asking questions and then people reply and you don't reply back, don't even bother asking questions because it's just going to like again just destroys that trust. They feel it's rude, right? They're like you got to remember for you've got hundreds of leads, but for this one lead, you are the only person they're speaking to potentially. And so if you ask a question, they reply, and you don't reply back to them, they just feel like, oh, this guy's rude. Like I don't like this. Cool. Scripting, you want to act fast. It's not a cold call, but you still need to act fast. Don't worry about trying to build rapport. So I've got a thing here that says, is rapport dead, right? It's not dead, but people don't build rapport for the sake of building rapport when people know that like you're doing it as a sales tactic, right? So many calls I hear, not of my own team, but of other people, where they'll be like, hey, James, it's Julie here. How are you? And the guy's like, I'm good. How are you? And she was like, I'm good. And they move into this. And it's like, what was the point of that? Like, what literally, like, there was no connection built anyway. And also, the client, or sorry, the lead knows you're asking. Like, they know they don't care. They know that you don't care about their day. You don't give a shit. And they know it. So what I like to do as well is just to jump straight in with like, hey, James, this is Aaron. You just submitted information about hair loss, about your back, about something that you can tell them like within seconds that it immediately triggers, oh, these are the guys that I just submitted my information into, right? If you can get your team to know things about the ad, right? So maybe the ad has got a picture of a woman getting her teeth done, a blonde woman getting her teeth done, right? And it's got some special offer, right? Make sure your team knows what that offer is, because a lot of time people will say, I have no idea where you're calling from. Or they'll be like, an ad for dentists? No, I didn't put any of my information in. And it's like, I've got your, like, I know you did. I've got your number. I've got your name. I've got your email. Like, you literally did it 2 minutes ago. But sometimes people are just like, no, not interested. And you're like, and you want to freaking scream, right? But then if you say to them, oh, yeah, so you literally would have seen an ad on Facebook or Instagram. It would have been a picture of a woman in a chair. The offer, they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And then you build that trust, right? So you just got to try and, as soon as you phone them up, you've got to convince them basically it's not a cold call by giving them something that reminds them that, hey, I actually opted in for this. Then they'll give you the time of day and you can actually speak to them. So some core ISA traits. Yeah, I'll go through this. Let me see. What time are we on? 45. I want to leave time for. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to go through these if that's okay, just because this will take a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. We've got loads of questions, so yeah, it should be
good. Anti-no show. So again, I've got another thing at the end about this. Biggest indicator of client availability. If you are trying to book someone in, okay, I'll take 2 minutes to talk about this. This is important. Client availability. If you're booking someone in for a call, let's say in 2 days' time at 11 a.m. So today's Wednesday, right? Let's say we're booking someone for Friday at 11 a.m. At the time when that person's booking that appointment, let's say Friday 11 a.m. is the only time your client's got available, right? And it's not the most convenient for the lead. However, when the lead's on the phone with you, they're like, oh, you know what? I need to get my teeth fixed. I have to get my teeth fixed. Yeah, I'll tell you what, look, I will book it. I'll take a day off work. I'll ask my mum to look after the kids. I'll blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And I'll come at 11 a.m. Okay, great. And at the time, their motivation is like up here. So they're like, yeah, I'm super motivated. It's great, right? The problem is that over time, over the next 2 days, their motivation is going to exponentially just drop off, right? And now all of a sudden, the barrier to entry for them to actually attend that meeting is so high that the motivation is so low now that they're just not going to show. However, if you were able to offer an appointment, let's say at 7 p.m. on Friday, when they've got nothing else to do, they've finished work, maybe their kids are already in bed, they've got literally nothing else to do, right? The barrier to entry is down here. And so even if their motivation drops over the 2 days, which it will, their motivation is still high enough to be able to breach that barrier to entry to actually turn up to the appointment. So you just want to make sure your client's got as much availability as possible. If they haven't, it's really going to screw your show rates. The other thing
is to do something similar for we used to work in aesthetics quite a lot, and we used to do like a free like sun lotion, which was worth like £30 off the shelf, but they used to buy it for £10. And we used to have on appointment, like when you come here, you also get a free, along with your free consultation, you get a free like tanning lotion for your face, which also worked extremely well.
Love that. That's exactly what the ethical bribe is. That's perfect. Yeah. So the ethical bribe works in 2 ways. It obviously encourages people to actually turn up if they get something for free, which is awesome. So that actually increases their motivation, not the barrier to entry. So that still helps. But then when it comes to if you said, for example, let's say you had 2 different lotions and you were maybe you had a super dark tan one that's no tan. And you say, hey, we'd like to give a bottle of lotion out to every one of our new people that turn up for the appointment. Do you prefer the tan lotion or the non-tan lotion? Right? If someone replies to that with hey, I prefer the tan or I prefer the non-tan, and you're like, hey, great, I'll keep it aside for you. Now they've got this law of reciprocity rolling into it as well. People feel like, oh, this guy's asked me something, I've given them a response, and they've done something extra for me. So for example, with kickboxing, we'll be like, hey, do you prefer black gloves or white gloves? If they say I prefer white gloves, the chance of them showing up is so much higher now, because they just feel like, oh, this guy put something aside for me, they're giving me something for free. It's always kind of rolls into one, which is really, really nice. So that's what the ethical bribe is. Always try to include a picture of it as well, because it just encourages, saying, hey, I'll give a bottle of lotion is okay, great. But if you've got a picture of it, just looks a lot nicer. Person smiling, again, builds that trust. Try and use Google profile image and maps links. So if you go to your local, if I quickly share my screen actually. So if I also type in Virgin Active, the local Virgin Active near me, right? So you'll see that I'll go to this one here. Cool. So on the map, if I actually want to, hold on a second, directions. Oh, it's not doing it. Hold on. Website directions. It used to pop up with a, maybe click on this button here. Oh, they might have, I can't remember how to do it. I haven't done it for such a long time. They've updated the UI, so it's a bit hard. I can't figure out how to do it. But anyway, basically what it is like you're able to get the picture of, I'll click into pictures now. You can get, if I go back to the thing here, right? You have like the Google Maps. Just down. You have the Google Maps image here with like the reviews and everything on the left here, right? And you screenshot that and then you put that as like the confirmation message. And then people see the reviews, like they see that, okay, it's a real company, local to me. It's got like 4-star reviews, great. And then also they can see the map and they're like, oh, hold on, and they start to really understand this is actually close to me. This isn't some scam company. This is a real company located 2 miles away. Like it just makes more like it just again builds that trust, right? And also things like parking information, taking a picture of the building, be like, hey guys, see you in an hour. Here's the parking, this is our address. Here's what the building looks like. Again, we're trying to reduce that barrier to entry. People are just like, oh, you're basically making it so easy for them to turn up. They already know where everything is. They know the parking. It becomes way easier. So little things like that can be really good as well. Yeah, that's it.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that was amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've got a ton of questions.
Yeah.
So shall I start from the top, and then what I'll do is I will quote them on the screen, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we can just go through them one by one. So
yeah, full. I'll quickly restart my camera one more time.
No problem. Actually, I don't think I can quote them on the screen. Can you guys see that on the screen? If you can, give me a thumbs up. If you can't, just say no. But no, I can't. So it's just quoting. Annoyingly, on Google Meets, you can quote it and put it on the front of the screen. But I don't think you can here. So I'll just read the questions out.
Yep.
So first question we've got is when you say the gym's number. So we refer back to what you were talking about with effectively the verified call ID. The gym's number, Luke says, what do you mean? So most gyms use their mobile. So do you typically, there's 2 parts to this question. One, would you just use whatever number they typically use and what's listed on Google Maps? Or do you typically, and then the second part of the question is, what works best at landline or mobile numbers typically in your experience?
So to answer the first question, yes, you can literally link the gym's mobile phone number into the Go High Level account. The only problem you're going to have, Luke, with that is that when people get when they return a phone, because like a lot of times it was missed calls, right? They see a missed call, they're like, who's this? They phone it back and it goes directly to the gym or the gym owner, right? And they're like, I didn't call you. And it's just like a whole like weird situation, right? So you just want to make sure that if you do that, your client needs to be prepared that they're going to get a lot of phone calls coming in. But how I sell it to them is like, look, we're going to phone the new leads when they come in. If you don't want to answer the phone, if you don't want to deal with them, that's fine. Just don't answer the phone. But these are warm leads. These are leads that we've generated for you that are phoning you back to your phone who are interested in your gym, right? So it's like you should really just answer the phone and talk to them.
Yeah.
And what's the second part of that? Oh, mobile? Is it landline or mobile? Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it really. I think mobile is better if you don't have a local number. So if you're dealing with a gym in London, right, and you've got an 020 number, great, then use that because like it's local. But if you're trying to phone from like a number in Manchester when the person's in London, then the immediately they're gonna be like, man, why is Manchester calling me? Like, and they could probably think it's a scam or something. So if you've got a local number for that area, great. It doesn't really matter. But if you haven't, use the mobile.
Can I just interject there, if that's all right? Thank you so much for the presentation, Aaron, and taking so much away. I worked with a sales lady who was the top sales lady for utility warehouse for like 3 years running or something like that. And then she said she saw a study where if it's a local landline calling, it's like 50% more chance that people will pick up than random mobile. So
that probably I wouldn't support. I've never seen that study or ever seen that, but like I honestly haven't done a split test on mobile versus a landline, so I can't comment. But I would say that does make sense. Like if I was to see, especially if it's like a local number.
Yeah, because I live in Canterbury and I see like 01227 is the Canterbury line. I'm like, oh, That's for me.
It's a local. It must be a local. Yeah,
Mobile.
exactly. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. No,
I also,
get what you mean.
Interesting.
in my experience, also with like the 60 plus demographic, like landline works far better than mobile.
Good point.
And like the younger demographic, like if it, all else being the same, like if you're doing a national lead gen campaign, a mobile number is probably gonna like be better. But for local businesses, I can't argue with that. Like a local number, that because it comes with my phone as London, right? I'm far more likely to answer that. So yeah, it makes complete sense. And especially if you're not in London. I feel like if you're in like Manchester or you're in like Kent, Canterbury, or if you're in Yorkshire or whatever, like they're even more local. And it feels more local. So it's like an even more of a no-brainer, definitely.
It would be weird to have, like, in my opinion, for an actual local business to not have a landline. It just feels a bit. I guess a lot of them don't need it anymore, right? Which is why. But
so just sorry to interject again, but I own a gym, and a lot of micro gyms that people are generating leads for, group training gyms. They don't have like a reception desk. They're not like a proper gym. I would say 90% of micro gyms that most lead gen agencies work with do not have a landline.
Right. Well, then obviously you just got to use the mobile number if they haven't got one. Yeah, that's the best thing. Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Sweet as. Awesome. So Stefan says, got two questions. Number one, is there a snapshot for the ISO workflow? Do you have a snapshot that you can give away, or is that something people just got to build themselves?
It's only in the paid in my paid program.
Yeah, in your paid thing, which we'll leave a link to in the video.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a free program you guys can jump into as well, and it gives a load more information. But the snapshot is it's just for the paid guys.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot.
Makes sense.
Quite in depth.
It's also probably quite complicated, so I'd imagine you would need some.
You need to have exactly. You need to have a video. You need to have a whole thing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then number two is what region is best to hire your ISAs? Like I know you hire overseas, which I've hired in the UK before, and it's like £25 an hour. I'd imagine it makes no sense to do it in the UK, but like what countries are typically best? And obviously the English language needs to be fluent. Yep. So in your experience, what regions are the best? Yeah,
it depends where you're phoning for. If you're phoning for the US, you can find a bunch of people in Latin America, the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Philippines. People always put Philippines down, but honestly, like we do have a great results with people in the Philippines. As long you've got to make sure. I didn't talk about any hiring in my presentation, but you've got to make sure that their accents are good. You've got to make sure they've got good internet, at least 2 monitors. You want to make sure they can take feedback, like have like code. I've got a whole thing about that as well, about how to hire people properly. But yeah, the Philippines works well. If you're dealing with people if you're dealing with UK companies, the Philippines and things like that, like they've got American accents, so it kind of like doesn't really work as well. So what you want to do is you want to use like South Africa. South Africa is really good for that because people with UK, a South African accent is like, it's like people don't. There's no worry about that.
It's normal. There's a lot of South African expats here anyway, so it makes complete sense. Cool. Robert says, what is the earliest and latest you will call leads on weekdays and weekends? So is there like a time limit on that?
It depends on the client, depends on the niche. There's so many, so many different things. But I would say usually like the latest is usually like 8 p.m. Earliest is usually like 8 a.m. On Sundays, again, you got to be careful if you're phoning like Christians. You don't want to be phoning Christians on a Sunday, right? Like, or any religious people really. So like you got to be careful stuff like that. It really depends on your niche.
Yeah, makes sense. But I'm guessing you get pretty good contact rates like 5 p.m. onwards or like.
Yeah, also in general, like my times I usually phone, I usually like 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. They're usually the 2 times that I'll go for.
Makes sense. Next question, we've got one here. Are you able to give us these resources? So you're going to have a resource list which we can put in the description right after.
I'll send it over to you. I'll just post it directly in the group. I don't mind. I'll post directly after this call.
I'll put this recording in the classroom section as well, along with the resources, so you guys can refer back to it.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Okay, sweet as. Another question we've got is this kind of question I had actually as well. So Stefan says, how would you go about upselling to appointment setting? Easier when you have results, but we only have results from raw leads. Okay, so I'm going to reframe this question because I think I understand where you're coming from. With your clients, and obviously you're an outsourced call center primarily, right? So I know you're working with other agencies, but in your experience, do people typically sell appointments, or are they selling this as a retainer base? So are they going to a company saying, hey, you can have raw leads for $1,000 a month, or for $2,000, we'll pre-qualify them for you? What's typically a better model?
It's more just about, it's not really about better model. It's more about if you guys can deliver or not, right? Like if I was, put it this way, if I was to restart an agency today, the model I would do is a paper appointment to get them in the I'd like when I speak to these, I'm like, hey, look, we'll do a paper appointment, pay up front for 10 appointments, maybe it's $200 for an appointment, right? So up front 10K, 2K, maybe charge a setup fee, maybe don't, depends on how kind of sexy you want to make the offer. And then after like 2 or 3 months, and when I start charging them $6,000 a month because I'm generating so many appointments for them and then we're smashing it, I would probably turn around and be like, hey, look, you see the kind of results we're getting you. Like, I've actually got a better option. If you just pay this $2,500 retainer, we can just do it for free. Like, it works, blah, blah. And then I'll move to a retainer model to get that consistent. Because like the paper appointment is risky model. So I wouldn't want to have entirely paper appointment probably because it's like, does create that little bit of risk. So to answer the question, like if you've got clients right now and you're getting great results for them and you think that, hey, I can just, if I plug the appointments, I'm gonna get even better results, then great, do the paper appointment. But if your results are kind of like, you're not too sure, and you're not too sure about the call center stuff as of yet, maybe find some of your clients that you've got a great relationship with and be like, look, at the moment, we're getting you lots of leads, but I can see you're not phoning the leads, right? How about we do this? Why don't I try and find someone for you that can pre-qualify, blah, blah, blah. Would you be open to working with me on that? And we can figure it out together. And if they're like, yeah, great. It's like, okay, great. It's an extra $500 a month. Just charge them enough just to cover your costs, And then just like start working it and just start learning. And just be honest with them. Be like, look, I'm this guy was talking some cool stuff in this thing. I want to experiment with it. I think it can help you. Let's do it. And that's how I do it.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
One really quick follow-up thing with that is that when it comes to charging, so usually you can charge at least like another $500 to $1,000 a month per client for the call setting. Just a quick side note.
Makes complete sense. Axel says, do you have an understanding of what you would define as good conversion rates or metrics? So like, do you have like an industry standard appointment booking rate that you're aiming for?
Again, it massively depends on you guys, because if you're generating Facebook lead forms, you're using Facebook lead forms to generate leads, and you've got another agency that's using a funnel that's got an 8-question qualifier thing on it, right? Your booked appointment rate is going to be way different between them two different funnels because the lead quality is way different, right? So just bear that in mind. But in general, we usually see like 30 to 50% is like what you're seeing for appointment booking rate. And then for show rates, again, it depends if you're taking deposits, depends if you're doing ethical bribes, depends if you listen to what I said in the anti-no-show stuff. But you should be seeing like around a 50% show rate as well. If you're not taking deposits. Taking deposits, you should be way higher than that.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Okay, sweet as. Next question, Robert says, having a big problem with go high level SMS automations. Can't remove the reply stop to unsubscribe. Makes it hard to make it look real. Is there a workaround for this? A lot of people are having trouble with this recently. I know you can change the message, but I can't remove that. So do you have any feedback about that?
You used to be able to just turn it off. I actually haven't. A few people have said this to me now. They're like, oh, hey, do you know how to I'm actually going to really quickly look right now. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Settings. So I can, on my one, let me quickly share my screen again. I'll show you what I mean. Maybe this is just me. So for my one, I can untick it and it says, are you sure you want to untick it? And I can be like, yeah, I want to disable the opt out. And I can just like, I'm not going to do it, but I can click all this stuff and it lets me disable it.
Okay.
Right? Do you guys not have that option then? Maybe just write in the chat or unmute yourself or whatever.
Hey man, yeah, so just to quickly say, we do have the option. On some of my older clients, we can remove it on the same day we made the account. But on the newer ones, it's been the last few weeks. I'm not sure if you tried it then, but as soon as you click confirm, it'll say you cannot remove, location is under ramp. And I've been getting it for weeks now, and a lot of people are getting it as well. I'm not sure.
Maybe one workaround is you can just delete this entire message and just put a space. Oh no, it won't. You
have to use one of those keywords underneath. Yeah. So it's hard to make it look real, like you said.
But I wouldn't make it look real. The first one, I wouldn't make it look real. The first one, I'd make it be very much an automated message. I'd make it be like, thanks so much for submitting your information to blah, blah, blah company. Like we've received your information and one of our team will reach out to you shortly to book an appointment. Please press stop to reply stop to unsubscribe. Like that's fine. Like I would make that first message automated because also they come through at like whatever time in the morning or like it won't be a human. They know it's gonna be automated. So don't try and make it look real when it's obviously gonna be automated, that first message. Then later down the line, when you start doing the human messages, you don't have to include that again because you've already included it in the first message. That's what I would do.
And it makes it seem more real because there's a delay as well.
Yeah,
So you're
exactly.
adding like a delay between that like immediate automated message and then the actual real agent who's essentially engaging with
If I was to submit my information somewhere and then immediately I got a message being like, "Hey, everyone, Sam here," blah 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 blah, like trying to make it look like a human, like I immediately know it's not a human because it was instant. Like, there's no way unless the person's sitting on his phone waiting for new leads, which they're not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you don't mind, what I've done with that, I've set the automatic text times to 8 a.m. and like 7 p.m. So if someone fills it in, that's when the text will come through. Is that right, or would you change that?
So I would just have it so the automated one goes out 24 hours a day, and then you can set up another one to go out at 8:06, for example, or 8:32. Don't do it bang on 8 o'clock. Do it like at a random time after 8, right? And then be like, "Hey, just going for." I'd even have it like depending if the lead came through us like overnight. I would even customize different text messages. So, for example, if it came through overnight, I would send out a text which was like, "Hey James, just going through the leads that came through overnight. Super glad you submitted your information. How can I help?" Like, I'd make it seem like, "Oh, this guy has actually, like, it must be real because he even knew it come through overnight," like that kind of stuff. But if the lead came through at 2 p.m., I'd send that instant message. Maybe wait, but if you haven't got callers, you should really have the caller just phoning them up as well. Like, if you haven't got callers, then it gets a bit more complicated.
That makes sense.
Okay, thanks.
So he has Luke just says here about sending images via SMS. How is that a challenge in the UK, or was that easy to do?
It's fine as long as you bought a number that allows MMS multimedia sending. It's fine.
So sorry, just to elaborate on that. Through Twilio, you can't get a number that sends SMS. It might just be blocked through Go High Level, but I tried like recently, and you just can't do it.
You can't buy a UK number that allows you to do.
It's got a special name, doesn't it? To send. It's called MMS. MMS,
yes,
is that right?
Yeah, exactly,
So you can't activate MMS in the UK.
This just shows how long ago I actually. If we have a look,
they have made some changes recently, haven't they, as well?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like it's only local. Toll-free mobile. Okay, but it's got. So I haven't had to buy any new numbers for a long time. So if you can't do MMS, then that kind of sucks.
There is a little workaround which Luke Bicknell was just posting as well, which is transitioning to WhatsApp. So
but WhatsApp's so expensive at the moment. It's like 7 cents or 7 penny a text or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's quite expensive.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. The other thing,
if you do it,
I would reach out. Sorry, go on, Luke. What did you say?
No, I was just saying that I meant that in the manual sense. So you just do it from if you've got the people using their own numbers manually, then obviously it's free, but automated is different, I guess.
Yeah, but you don't want you to rely on your clients doing that because they just won't do it. So, have you reached out to Go High Level support and asked? Is that like an actual thing in Go High Level, or is it just like a bug at the moment?
I think that's just the setting the way it is. I'm pretty sure if you hover over it, it says you cannot activate this in the UK. I tried this like a couple months back. Haven't tried.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look into that. Yeah, seems a bit weird. But I also like all of my clients are in the US, so obviously everything I'm talking about, like it, I assume it works in the UK, but I haven't done it a lot of it in the UK. All my clients are in the US, so it's a bit harder.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look. Next question. Okay, so for our nurturing and ghosting flows, how important are they for lead gen? As we didn't have any replies from them. Yeah, this was one of my questions. How important is like SMS engagement with when it compares to like just pickup rates? So how big a part does like getting them to engage via text play when it comes to show rates and booking rates?
When it comes to booking rates, just like the calling, the texting is like maybe like 5-10% of it. The calling is like what actually gets people booking. There are some people that don't want to speak on the phone. They just want to book it. They just want to have a text conversation, which is fine. And that's why I'd really recommend putting a bot in, because with the bots, like I said, they can book in the appointments. They can do everything really, really well now. So and with the nurture, like obviously it's important to like keep reminded, like if they're not answering the phone. But again, like if you're just relying on texting to get them to book, it's not going to work. You have to have the calling as like the main thing, and then you sprinkle the texting into it. That's kind of how it works. The texting is like 5-10% of it. Yeah. In terms of the show stuff, what we found is that actually, like, if you send too many texts for appointments, the show rate actually goes down because people start just like putting that, they either start blocking your number or they just assume that in their brain, they're like, every time they get a text from your number, they're like, oh, it's spam, it's spam, it's spam, because you're texting them too much. So what we find is like send out reminder, like the initial confirmation, 24 hours before, like the ethical bribe, and then like the parking an hour notice, like whatever. Like send out them 4 messages, and then you should be good.
Yeah, I like that. Makes sense. Luke says, how do you pay? And when he says how do you pay, he means how do you pay the team? Like, do you typically like retainer base your call handlers, or do you commission them anyway?
Or I don't do any commission because, but for you guys, I'm not saying you shouldn't do commission. I'm just, for my model, I don't do commission. It'd be way too messy. But if I was running an agency, like, for dental or whatever, the thing is, when it comes to commission, you want to make sure you don't just give commission on the booked appointment. You want to give commission on the show as well, because the call that the lead has with that ISA, that determines the show rate more than anything else. If that person has like just been like, hey, blah, 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 they just go through the script, they just chat some nonsense, the person's going to book a call. People will be polite. They're not going to be like, no, I'm not booking a call. Most people will just be polite and book a call no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But it's that rapport and that connection and that trust that the ISA built with that lead is what's going to determine the show, right? So for example, if you're in the chiropractor niche, and then you've got a lead that says, oh, you know what, my back's been so bad, I can't even play with my kids anymore in the park. Like, it makes me so sad. And the ISA is like, okay, great, awesome. So we've got an appointment tomorrow. It's like, the guy's like just not gonna, like, he's just opening up to you, being vulnerable, and you're just like completely writing him off, just trying to book the appointment, right? And so you'll still get the appointment booked, but you're not going to get the show. And so if the ISA can really connect and show empathy with that lead, then you just got a much higher chance of that appointment showing. So therefore, you should definitely do commissions based on appointment booked, but also mainly the show as well. But yeah, to answer the question, so we just do hourly rate, but I would do commission on shows.
Also, if you, I think where the commission might work well is, instead of having an agency which is like working with, individual clients that through their own pages or their own ad accounts, but you're just handling the calls, versus having an agency which is like you have a one brand on the front end, like Compare Quotes. I know, like it might be compare teeth whitening.co.uk, right? And you are booking appointments from multiple, you might have a couple of call handlers, but they're booking like from one source, they're booking loads of leads. It's probably easy to manage that way, right? That was my question, obviously, to you, was like, do you have many companies that are doing it, that model, where they have a front-facing brand? If you look at companies like Leads to Trade in the UK, we've got like Boiler Guide or Solar Guide and things like that, where it's like a price comparison, and then they're splitting the leads or the booked appointments to 3 different companies. Do you typically have that? Does that happen a lot with you guys, or is it mostly just on a per account basis?
Maybe just on a per account basis.
Got it. Okay, fine. Yeah. But would you recommend that as a product or as a service?
I never really thought about it. It could be good. It depends. There's so many things it depends on, but that could be. Yeah, I won't. I've never really thought about it, so I won't say if it's good or bad, but it could be for sure.
Cool. All right, cool. Any tips on keeping that motivation higher between meetings? I'm not exactly sure what. Okay, I'm guessing here he means between the call and the booked appointment, to increase show rates. But Charlie, if you could just elaborate on your point there, just so I'll come back to it in a minute. Okay. So, how long does it take typically for somebody to learn and implement this for their business in your experience? Is this something that can be implemented in a week, or is this something that takes months of training and like building to get this flowing?
Yeah. So without trying to pitch myself,
go for
it. if you try and do it on your own, it will take, honestly, like, I've got some clients that have spent a year trying to get this right, and even then they're still just like, I can't figure this out, it's an absolute mess. But obviously I've got a program which teaches agency owners how to build this all out. If you go for that program, it will take you less than a week. Like, you'll be able to get it all built out. And obviously there's an ongoing thing, like, but in terms of just getting it built out initially with some good results and stuff, you can get built out in a week if you know what you're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. We'll plug that in the description or wherever I post it in the group.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, cool. I'm gonna skim these so we can get through all of them. Do you have a call center attached to your agency and working with high ticket lead gen clients for you to maintain good results? In which cases, is it necessary to have callers in your service delivery? I don't really understand. So I thought, could you just rephrase that question for me again, and I'll come back to it, and just pop it at the bottom, and we'll come to it at the end. Stefan says, I've been watching your YouTube for a while and lots of value in the investigation videos. I'm guessing that's your content, right, Aaron?
Yeah, that's something that, yes. Oh, I'm glad. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad someone's watching them. I didn't think anyone was watching them.
People are always watching. If I find on YouTube, on TikTok, if you get like 100 views, like there's zero engagement. But on YouTube, if you get 100 views, it's typically 100. Like at least 40 of them are actually watching, right? And they're engaging, which is
Good to
awesome.
know. Good to know.
We'll plug your when I put this on YouTube, I'll which will be like later on in the week or next week. I'll plug your channel on this.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah,
go and
awesome.
do it. Any experience with Irish numbers? Most we've kind of already covered this. I think this is kind of similar to UK numbers, but most don't allow you to send SMS or calls. Is there a way to integrate their phone number into Lead Connector? Do you have any experience with this?
The only thing is the verified caller ID. So you can make the phone calls, but the texting and the like the pictures, I don't think you can connect. Yeah, I don't think you can.
I'm surprised. Like, well, I suppose I don't know. Maybe Ireland's obviously in the EU, so perhaps it's got stuff to do with like the GDPR compliance and stuff like that.
Maybe.
But that's annoying.
Yeah,
very annoying.
But I didn't think UK was in the EU anymore, so I don't really get. But I feel like we are.
Ireland is, right.
Oh, Ireland. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Ireland is. Yeah.
Probably the best thing to come out of Brexit is going to be this.
We can send text. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, let's talk about financial charging, stuff like this. So for a couple of questions were like, do you charge clients for your Twilio costs? I'm going to assume you don't.
I work inside their accounts. So for example, if Jim I work inside their Go High level accounts, they handle all the cost of the phone in.
Typically, okay, fine, makes sense because obviously you're an outsourced call center, right? If you're running as an agency, I highly doubt you'd be charging Twilio costs to a client. You just
I wouldn't do that because otherwise it just adds more like
complexity.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, fine. Next question. Luke says, what about WhatsApp? We've kind of discussed that. It's expensive to automate. Obviously, manually you can do it. Let's have a look. For my client, we get plans sent to us by WhatsApp. Sometimes it's quicker and we get them. Wait 1 second. For my client, we get plans sent to us by WhatsApp sometimes as it's quicker and we get them sent whilst on the phone. Is there a way I can separate the WhatsApp number for leads from my personal WhatsApp? Yeah. Do you know anything about this? Because I think you can't separate your WhatsApp with just one phone number, right? It's based on your number, so you can't have a separate WhatsApp for your business or anything like that.
You're not talking about in Go High level, you just mean general WhatsApp, right?
I assume he means in general, yeah. I mean, I've used
I've never done WhatsApp for business, so I'm not sure.
No, I think you can buy a number through something like I used to buy a number through what's it called? Skype, I think. And I could purchase the number and that worked for me for a while. You also got apps like Be Online. You can buy like SMSs and stuff like that and you can do that. But yeah, I'm not sure. Is it easy to explain the question on the mic? Thor, yeah, go for it, Thor. Do you want to ask your question on the mic? Just unmute yourself.
All right, cool. Thanks. Sorry if it was a bit confusing, but my question was really just, do you think it's necessary to have ISAs or a call center like in your service delivery when you work with high ticket lead gen clients, or can you rely on some clients calling the leads themselves, like with their employees and stuff like that?
It depends if the client does, like if you see that with your clients they actually do phone and they're phoning fast and they're phoning often and they're following up, then you don't. It depends because like if your niche, like when you say high ticket, what's your niche? What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm actually split between the home improvement and then I also got some clinics. But
okay, neither of them will phone their leads.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't think that. Like the home improvement definitely won't phone their leads. And clinics, like they won't. They might say, oh yeah, my receptionist will handle that. She won't, like, or he won't. Like they won't do a good job. So I wouldn't rely on them.
Yeah, biggest lie ever told by any client ever is that like I'm a master salesperson, and like I close 80% of all my leads. And I'm like, yeah, but you've never dealt with a Facebook form lead before. Completely different.
Exactly.
And like actually, just on that, I've worked with like some of the biggest companies in the UK, and even they buy leads, qualified leads of companies on a regular basis. They will handle raw leads if you give them to them. But you're always going to get more bang for your buck and more money for your leads if they're pre-qualified, simple as. And like they're buying leads off of, some of the biggest lead providers in the UK are pre-qualified leads and have like a call centers based in the UK. So like, it's a bit of a myth that these big companies just want raw leads. I don't think that's necessarily true. So hopefully that kind of answers that question.
Yeah.
And in Charlie's question up before, he said he was referring to when we talk about motivation between drop off. I was referring to the motivation drop off between initial contact or / call and the scheduled call. Okay. Before I elaborate on this question, typically in your experience, are you booking physical appointments or are you booking phone appointments?
It works. It's the same thing for both. One thing I would quickly say about the phone appointments is that a lot of, so for example, Thor, if you do go with home services, a lot of people, they will create the Zoom link, they set up the Zoom count, all that kind of stuff. And again, you've got to think for it from your leads point of view, right? People that are in the home improvement niche, they are not tech savvy. They do not understand Zoom. They're going to be out on the road. So if you're trying to rely on them to jump on a Zoom call at the time of your appointment, like that, you're going to get a show rate of like 20%. It's going to be a terrible show rate. Oh, hold on a second. Let me reset my camera.
No worries.
Could I
You
just
got
add
this
a
sheet
note
here
to my
display.
question?
Say that again, Thor.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Could I just add a note to my question?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe it's just because maybe I got some dream clients that actually do call the leads. I don't know, but I have a couple success cases with where their employees and the partner of the business are pretty good at sales, and he closes quite a lot of appointments of these leads right from the lead forms.
How many clients? How many clients have you got right now?
7 to 8.
Okay. So and all 7 to 8 are phoning their leads.
Yes.
You need to teach me how you're doing this, man. That's insane. That's crazy.
I think it's the client's job, but I also work with a eye clinic which has like multiple employees and like a whole team of just assistants, and these are actually the ones calling these leads, and we got like crazy good ROAS in 3 months and had like
if you've got a client that's like got like an actual team, and they've like for example, there are some solar companies that actually have a dedicated team of callers that are really good and they know what they're doing, which is great. But you trying to close them companies, like you're not going to get many of them. Most of the people you're going to be working with are like the one man, maybe a couple of guys that work for a solar company, like these one man band kind of guys. When it comes to like the home improvement companies, like, okay, if you've got a few clients where it's like they've got the business partner, they got this and they got that, like I would still challenge you. I really, really doubt their phone lead. Like they might be getting good results. I'm not saying they're not getting good results. They might be getting good results, but they could get better results if they actually phone the leads. Like, and I don't believe they're phoning the leads like you say they are. They may tell you they are, but until I see it, I wouldn't believe that. So yeah, there are some companies that do have it locked in, but most, like what I'm saying is like 95% of the companies don't. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Can I just very quickly interrupt myself over here? I think this one might be helpful, but I was previously doing some cold calling. Sam, you probably might remember a little bit. And I cold called probably not that many, it's just around 300 home improvement companies. And the data that I got back from that was around 50% of them picked up. Only 2 called back from 300. And I think to speak to the decision maker, it was around 20%. 20-30%. A lot of the times it was either their assistant or it might have been the decision maker, and they just said, try to bug me off kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's kind of what.
And you were phoning as if you were potentially a lead, right?
As a lead, yeah.
You only got phoned back twice. Like that's what I mean.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah,
interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, cool. We've got like 1 or 2 more and then we'll finish up. Luke says, do you have any knowledge or experience or opinion about companies that offer lead gen, lead nurture to appointment and the actual sale for the company? Have you experienced this?
Have you got a need? Like, have you seen this in a specific niche, or is it just you talk about in general?
Yeah, it's the gym niche.
So I've heard of a company. So this is what Hormozy did when he started out, right? Like he did exactly what you're talking about, but he had a bit of a dangerous model, because what ended up happening was that everyone, like, he would sign up a load of clients for the gym, but then the gym owner 2 weeks later would say, "Oh, you know that company you paid $600 for? I'll tell you what, get a refund off them, and I'll do it for 300." That way, then the gym owner makes 100. And that was the whole problem with that, right? So I spoke to another guy recently who's in the Netherlands, And he was saying that they don't use, apparently, I don't know how true this is. He said that in Netherlands, they don't use credit cards. They just have like bank transfer in Netherlands, right? And so he said that there's no risk for his payment process getting shut down because it's all bank transfer. So like they can't get their money back. They can't do refunds. So he's using the same model Hormozy did originally, but he's doing it in the Netherlands where they can't. And I'm like, all right, if that works for you, then awesome, great. I just would, it's fine. Like, are you planning to actually like go to the gyms and sell for them? Or are you planning to do this or are you just talking in general?
We're already doing it.
Okay.
We're testing it right now. We're doing it remotely.
Okay, so you're doing like online consultations with the leads and then booking them in. Okay, cool. And how are they paying? What's the model? Like, how's the payments work?
We take the front end.
Okay, so then what stops 2 weeks down the line the gym, the person that's coaching them being like, you know that money that you paid up front, just get a refund and I'll give, like, what stops them from doing that?
It's a good question. Trust with the gym owners,
so I would
written contract,
and that's like, and so I'm just literally quoting what Hormozy's like. I'm not quoting him exactly. I'm paraphrasing, but
yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So he did this. Like he said that 99% of the gym owners were like they were very truthful. They were very honest. They didn't do that. But that one gym owner that does do it, it takes your profit from everything else. Like if you sign up a load of gyms, like all your profit from all the other gyms just gets destroyed. And then your processor gets shut down. Everything gets shut. Like even if you've just got one bad egg out of 100, like the model will break. That's the problem.
I think he was doing it with a sort of the whole free 6-week challenge, credit back, a lot of complexity in his system, the way that he did it and the way he sold it. We're not doing that. We're doing it as a straight sale. I think it's a lot more protected.
I wouldn't do it, but if that's the beautiful thing about this whole thing we call life is it's your life. You get to decide what you want to do, man. So my advice.
How would the customer like get the money back though if it's already gone?
They charge back. They go to their credit card provider and they just charge back.
If they use a credit card.
And it doesn't matter what card they use. I'm pretty sure you can charge back on any card.
What's stopping you from just getting them to pay direct to the company and then invoicing that company into the month and then paying you directly?
Nothing. That's a good option. We just we only started it yesterday, so we're just having a bit of fun with it.
So Sam, so that can work is that you have a payment link set up that the gym actually gives you, so it connects to their processor, and then then you just invoice that company, hey, like, and they can bank transfer you the $6,000 or whatever you would have collected, and that way then they can't that then I would do because it's a safe model. I'd be happy with. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a great switch. Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, if it's worth
to get you to come in the group and talk about it.
Yeah, give it a go, man.
Yeah.
I have two questions, and then I think we'll probably finish up because we've been in 90 minutes. But my two questions are first one is about call transfer. Have you tested call transfer? So, for example, rather than appointment booking, you say to the client, "Hey, we just this is the number that's going to be that the leads are going to come through on," and you give them a specific number. They can say that as a contact as like your company name. So, like, I don't know, company name, lead number, for example. And rather than you booking an appointment, if it's between the hours of 8 and 6, for example, you just live transfer that call straight to the client, and you bill the client based on the number of live transfers.
Yeah. So we don't even we've never done the thing where we tell the lead to, hey, you've saved this number. We haven't done that.
I mean, tell the client to say the number so they know what.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah. So we do. Yeah, we've done that. We do plenty of live transfers for our clients. We've got one client that's like an internet service provider for rural internet, and he's got a sales team on standby, but he doesn't want his sales team wasting their time dialing all day. So we just we do the dialing for him, and we just like, hey, we qualify them, and we go, oh great, let me see if one of our reps are available now, and literally just connect them and go high level, and then bam, we just report the number. Yeah, I
like that model. I think that's something I'm going to experiment with in the future.
Yeah.
And then my next question is, last question, probably finish up there. How much access to high level do you give your clients, if any?
We give, so it's my clients that we're talking about. We work inside their Go High Level accounts. We give them, it depends again what you're selling them. Like if you're selling them like the whole SaaS model, blah, blah. I would give them access so they can see and hear things. Some people would disagree with me on that. Because if your team make a mistake or they sound bad or whatever, then the client's gonna pick up on that and they're gonna start kicking off over little things. It all comes down to expectation setting as well, right? Like if you're telling clients that you've got US callers or UK callers and blah, and you haven't, then they're gonna kick off, right? We've got a whole expectations document which talks about like if you hear one bad call, don't freak out. Like, let's look at your results as a whole. Sometimes it's gonna be a bad call. And also the other thing as well is a lot of clients think that you're gonna be a clone of them. It's like, we don't know as much like my ISAs do not know about the gym niche as much as you do. They don't know about your business as well as you do. Like, they don't know that stuff. So don't expect us to be like a duplicate of you on the phone. Like, we're not going to sound that good. But what we can do is save you a bunch of time. We're fast as we get you more appointments. So even though we're not as good on the phone, the things we do still get better results because we're faster and we're more consistent. So like, setting these expectations is fine. And if you do that, then you can give access because they understand it all. But I would. It depends on your niche as well. It's kind of hard. I would experiment with giving them access and then see from there, like if it works or if it doesn't, go from there.
Yeah, agreed. I like that. Cool. Last quick question from Thor. I think did you raise your hand?
Yeah, thank you. It's just because what I heard you say when I asked you about do you need call center or ISA attached, is that I mostly would need that to bring them the good results, right? But then I also just feel like I have a problem with right now. Then I offer a incomplete service if I don't have the team of ISAs to bring the lead. So I'm like a bit stuck. Maybe like, what's the first step to acquiring these ISAs and how costly is it?
So you can run ads. So we run LinkedIn ads. And we find plenty of people like that. And we have like a whole application system that filters them out and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then how much we pay them? We pay them $5 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like $200 a week full time.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry?
Yeah. It's about $200 a week if they're full time.
Yeah. So I would usually, So if you're paying your ISA, that's somewhere between $800 and $1,000 a month. That's a good wage. It's a solid wage.
Yeah. Okay. And at what point in your agency, like revenue wise, would you say that I should consider doing that?
I would even like if you've got 7 to 8 clients and you're getting consistent results, I'd say now. You can start looking into it now.
Because one ISA probably could handle that as well.
Yeah, one ISA about 5. It depends on the number of leads you're getting. One ISA will handle about 500 to 1,000 leads a month, roughly.
And could you find that on Upwork? Have you?
Yeah, Upwork works. Yeah.
Okay.
There's got to be millions of them.
Yeah. What about, would a solution be that if I got a lead on the phone, an example on the cold call, that I actually qualify them, that I only can work with them if they already got employees or a dedicated team to call leads?
Yeah, like, you can do, but it's going to massively limit your addressable market, your TAM, right? Your total addressable market. And also the 16-year-old that's also starting the HVAC business because he watched one of Iman Gatzi's videos, he's also going to be the same as you, qualifying people on that. And then you have no real competitive advantage.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense. Thank you.
Cool.
We'll probably finish up there, guys. So I'm sure Aaron's got stuff to do. But guys, thanks so much for joining. And I'll make sure this recording goes up today in the paid community. So I'll put it in the classroom section. I'll leave links to Aaron's YouTube and also any resources that Aaron sends over. I'll pop that all in the classroom section. And awesome. Then I think Aaron's in the group. If not, I need to give him access to the group so he can respond to any comments that you guys may have.
Sounds good, man.
And then, everyone have a great day. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Appreciate you all for joining. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Aaron. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Hi guys, Sam here again. Thanks so much for watching that. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. We've got loads of workshops coming up. And if you want to gain access to the paid community to get access to live workshops just like this, as well as work directly with me, and also extensive amount of courses and content, then you can join by clicking the link down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you being here.